All right. Told myself I wasn't going to start a YouTube channel in order to do any of this, but I need to do it because I am having a very hard time keeping myself accountable. I am holding stocks while they are dipping way too far, and I'm not really reviewing a lot of my trades at the end of the day. I'm not seeing where I went wrong. And basically, I think if I have a process where I do my trading for the day and then I do a short video reviewing what went right, what went wrong, it'll make me be able to review my trades, where if I wasn't doing this video, I don't think I would honestly ever really look at this. All these videos are going to be really rough and unedited, probably no music or anything. It's just going to be me talking to the camera and looking at my trades for the day, because I need a process that helps me review these things. I also think this is going to help me, and we'll see if this keeps going. Basically, just if I know that I'm going to make a review video on how I was trading that day, I don't want to be red. I don't want to look like a bad trader, even though I am a bad trader. And I want to be able, I think it'll help me keep myself accountable when a stock's in the red. Get out of it, get out of there, and just move on to the next ticker for the day, because I don't want to make a video where I am in red, because it makes the burn that much harder when you have to show probably nobody who will ever watch these, but it'll just putting it out there. You don't want people to see those red days. So because of that, I think that this is going to help. I think it's going to help me keep accountable. Anyways, I was going to start this yesterday, but I got super stressed out, which you will see why here. I got to adjust the date range on this. Let's do this month. All right, so we'll look at last month just to give you guys. I started doing this last month on like the 11th, I think. So basically, yesterday I was going to start this whole trade review process to see where I was going wrong, and this one was honestly really obvious where I went wrong, when I lost $109.12. That was super painful. Not my biggest red day, but getting close to it. But it was my first red day in like a week and a half, so it really burned. Even though last week was all really small green days, it was still this was just a really painful experience. And these strategies that I was trading last week and have been doing this week, I have been doing like micro scalping on a 10-second candlestick. Basically what I'm doing is I'm waiting for a candle to break a new high. I am typically buying in right when it's about to cross that line of the new high. If it immediately pulls back, I'm often selling and getting out as quick as possible. But then I'm waiting for it to cross that line of a new high and then riding up. And I'm trying to sell before it starts to slow down. Like I know, you have the pattern that looks like a flag basically, and you'll have a stock that jumps up, it'll trend down for a little bit, it'll pop up, and it'll trend down for a little bit. And I'm trying to get out before you start seeing that ripple down of the flag before the next rip up. I have just found, based off of all of the trades that I have been making, when I hold on to a stock thinking I'm going to ride that rip back up, it almost always fails for me without a fail. But of course, if I sell, it always ends up going up again. It's just how these things work. So usually what I'm doing is I'm buying right when it's about to cross the line of a new high. I'm selling before it starts to dip back. And then if it goes to make that new high again, I'm buying in again for that rip up. But I'm always very quick to sell out. I'm trying to be very quick to sell out when it doesn't break that line of a new high within usually a handful of seconds. So that's why you're going to see my win-loss ratio is always typically about 50-50, because if something isn't immediately in profit, I'm basically selling out immediately. But if it is in profit, then I let it ride up. So I'm usually like 50 to 55% accuracy I have found doing this strategy over the last couple weeks. And I know it's not a lot. Before that, I was doing a 15-minute opening range breakout strategy, and I didn't test it long enough to actually build enough data on it, but we're going to look at that now. This is basically going to be a quick overview of like my last month of trading, but then going forward, when I do these daily reviews, it's just going to be a daily review, what I did on that day, but this is going to hopefully give some context to where I'm at now and what I've been doing for the last month. So this week, and I'm not going to dive into every single day. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to do it. We're just going to kind of go over the strategies I was using for that day. And if something didn't work, why it didn't work. And if things were working, what were they working? And it's a little bit hard for me to recall Tuesday and Wednesday. So I think I'm primarily just going to start with Thursday. Yesterday, I started off, I have a $25 daily goal. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's enough to basically just prove that a strategy is working. If I can be consistently profitable, $25 most days, more than not every week, then I know if I double my share size that I am going to double the profits from 25 to 50 because no other metrics are changing. The issue, and I'm trading a quantity of 50 shares using hotkeys on E-Trade Power. Just so you know, I know E-Trade sucks, but it's what I was already in. So I plan to probably change over at some point and use DOS. But for now, we are using E-Trade Power, which does kind of suck, and the hotkeys are pretty crappy. But I'm using a buy and sell hotkey at market price, and I'm just buying 50 and selling 50 shares. I don't have a cap on anything. I try not to buy back in as it's dipping down with more shares. I buy 50 shares, I sell 50 shares. That is what I am trying to hold myself to, but I've had issues with it in the past. But yesterday, basically what happened, I started the day up like $22, and that's when I always seem to have an issue. And I'm like, I'm $3 freaking from my goal. What do I need to do to get above $25 for the day? Well, I was in a stock, made up $22, and I was getting close to the halt on that stock. It was ripping up. I think, can we double click on this? I'm still getting used to TradeViz. It was this stock here. I was trading HWH, which is, of course, behind, is behind my webcam here. Still trying to get used to all this, so please excuse me. HWH is the ticker that I was trading at the time when it went into the halt. And when it went into the halt, I had never been stuck in a position before when I was in a halt. And you can see I wasn't thinking clearly. And when it started dropping down, I bought in with more shares. I was in at 100 shares instead of my 50 shares that I was typically trying to go with. And when it got stuck in the halt, it resumed, as you can see here, 14% lower, which was super freaking painful. I gotta move my webcam. This isn't working. Maybe I'll just put this over here. Sorry if this is all very rough. I'm learning, guys. All right. I'm learning Future Adam. Nobody's gonna watch this, but I was down $90, and then of course you start getting, you just. Nothing good ever happens when you're down that much, and then you try to basically revenge trade, lost another $13, and then what? I thought I made more trades later in the day, but they're not. I guess there was these down here. Oh, there's more pages here. Like I said, we're learning. So I started off the day, I thought it was up $22. Okay, I wasn't. I was up $9.50 and 7, so $16.50 I was up in the morning. And then I lost $13 on HWH, and this is on HWH, as you can see so far. And then I got stuck in the halt. And when it resumed, like I said, I'd never been in a halt before. I didn't know what to do, if I should get out before, if I should stay in, because I've seen it when it resumes, and it resumes way freaking higher. And in this case, it didn't. It resumed way freaking lower, and it was a painful loss of $90. And then I switched stocks there. I'm like, okay, I was down. Look, I was down. I was up 6.5. And then I lost 13. I wish there was a way that it would show like where I was at for the day when that like stair stepping basically, but that's not an option. So then I was like, okay, I saw the stock Bria jumping up, jump into that, lost another $6. And I'm usually only looking for a like $5 to $8 loss, or like a $15 to $20 gain is usually the price that I'm looking in. So was down $6, sold out. Okay, bought back in at a new spot, made $9, made $2.28, lost $3, got out of that stock, went back to HWH, made $4. You can basically see, I guess I don't really need to go through all of these, But I was basically down $100 for the day. And then later in the day, I started feeling emotional about the whole thing, as usually happens. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try in the afternoon. And I went from being down like $100 to only being down 90. And I was like, okay, I'm making some progress on this. And then, of course, it went from being down $90 to being up. Where did we end for the day? Does it show it down here? Excuse me. I feel like it should definitely show somewhere in here. Down, so right there at the top in the big freaking red letters. I was down $109.12, which was super painful. So basically what I learned at this point, I've only been trying to day trade for about a month at this point, and what I have learned is that from the very small amount of data that I have, can't backtest this too far at this point, is that I should probably be getting out when stocks are halting. I was trading a stock today, as you guys could see from my calendar view. I made $45 today with a 60% win rate, which is pretty good for me. It's slightly above average. I think I usually try and closer to 55 to like 57%. But what I did here, I was trading. We can jump into today real quick because this trade review is really supposed to be for today. Come on. Okay, so started off the day in the red. My very first trade. That is the way these are going, right? 934. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I started off my day in the red, $14.50, and it was just like, oh my God, this is just going to be another one of those days. But then I was trading INHD, which was popping off quite a bit, and then I made $8, made $14. It was $2 from break even, and then I lost another $2. Then I made $1. Lost $1, but then I switched over, I was trading V for a little, for a single trade. I made $1 off of it, and it wasn't volatile enough for my scalping strategy that I'm doing. Like I said, I've been using the 10-second chart. When it breaks that new high, I run with it. That VEEE was just not moving fast enough for me to really make any money with it or lose money. So then jumped into Duo. That stock was moving a little bit this morning. Again, same thing. Wasn't really able to capitalize on anything. Now, I had a really good win on SCAG. SCAG was blowing up this morning crazy. Will it show me down here? Oops. What the heck? Okay. Trade chart? Okay. Will it show SCAG? These charts are almost useless. I've never looked at this before, so I thought for some reason it does show like buy and sell. You can see on PAPL, you can see a buy and a sell, but here you can't. So that doesn't really do us any good. Anyways, had a really good scalp on SCAG, made $28. That put me back in the green for the day, like $15 or something like that. I really wish that there was a way for me to show like I started -14, okay, then I lost 8, and this is the new price that I'm at. I made 4, okay, now here I'm here, but there doesn't seem to be a way to do that, but I'm still learning this software, so this video is rambling on a lot. Anyways, made a good amount of money on SCAG, lost a little bit on PAPL, and then made a $9 trade and a $15 trade, and that was all of the trades that I made today, coming out $45 green, which was good because today is Friday, and that means I'm up $30.88 for the week. Not a great amount of money considering the amount of time and energy I put into it, but being green and having a positive win-loss ratio is really good. For the strategy that I'm using, I'm never going to have like a 65 or to 70% win rate because I am doing these really quick scalps. Like a lot of times, I'm in a trade for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more, depending on how aggressive things are. But being up $45 for the day felt good. I have found So far, I am most profitable between the hours of 9:30 a.m. and I have not traded pre-market, but I plan to at some point dabble with it a little bit. But 9:30 a.m. To 10 a.m. is when I make the most amount of money. I look back at all of my statistics. When I start trading after 10 a.m., it just always goes down. Occasionally, I'll get a small win, but statistically across all of my metrics, I found that after 10 o'clock, I am not making money. So I'm excited to see if I can get in on some of the earlier morning pops, before market opens, that maybe I could have some luck, because basically with my strategy that I'm using, you need to see those really aggressive spikes in order to make really any money with this. So once you get past 10 o'clock, the market cools down for the day. Not that aggressively, you could probably trade for a little bit longer, but I have just found after 10 o'clock I am best to just get out of there. A quick look at last month. This was my first week of trading on the 11th. I had some old stocks, I think, in this account that I sold off before I started using it for day trading. I think that's why it shows that I made 16 trades. I don't know why the data for that day is screwed up. But as you can see, first real day trading here, lost $4, and I screwed up big time on this. I lost $174 here. As you can see, $145 here on this Monday, 81. I was having the hardest time getting out of stocks. When things were down, I was dollar cost averaging. I kept buying more shares. I was trading with too many shares. I was trading with like 100 shares, so I would often end up being in 200 shares, 300 shares. And the stock would be going down, and you would think, oh, it's about to break a new line of resistance. Nope. Freaking plummeting. Just absolute disaster the whole time I was trading for these first couple weeks. And I was like, this was the 15-minute opening range breakout strategy. It was just super, super, super painful. As you can see, 6 winning days and only 2 winning days in the first 2 weeks of trading. And what I found is that I was holding stocks way too long. And like I said, I was dollar cost averaging. As they would dip more, I was buying back in more, and they would just plummet and plummet and plummet. And a lot of this was honestly my first 2 weeks of day trading. So I was learning how to use hotkeys. I was learning, and at the end of the day, being down $180 for the first week and being down $265 for the second week, it's the cost of learning. I'm going to have weeks much worse than this in the future if things work out, because as you do better, you will also have days where you have much bigger losses. So $265 was my biggest red week. Very painful, and it was really hard for me to wrap my head around. And I did a little bit of paper trading before this, but there was just no emotion behind it, so it was really hard for me to continue doing that. And you'd buy in with like 10,000 shares or 1,000 shares, and even when you'd try doing less, because it's not real, it's very hard for me to continue doing that. So basically, I did the opening range breakout. On paper, it was working pretty good, but then because I would let things stay in and ride them out, or I would be quick to take profit. Here, everything was just way too emotional. Everything I was doing here was the exact opposite of what I was supposed to be doing. And I just, like a volume on this day of $10,000. What the was I thinking? I was 32 trades, probably the most trades I've ever done. Yeah, absolutely, because that's the highest for this month. And I know I haven't done more than 32 trades this month. 32 trades in a single day. A negative win-loss ratio of only 48%, right? But that's, it's just unacceptable all the way around. I got emotional, and I was riding things way too long. That's how I lost all of that money. It wasn't like I was taking a bunch of scalps and they just weren't working out. I was dollar cost averaging into stocks, and they were just continuing to plummet, and just not a great experience. This week here, I said, you know what? I'm turning my hotkey setup to only giving me 50 shares to buy and 50 trades to sell. I'm going to try not to do dollar cost averaging, but obviously your emotions at the time justify that, not your strategy. And you got to stick to the strategy. And that's what I did last week. I stayed with it. Very small wins. $1.70, $7, $3, $7, and $30 last Friday was a total of $48.70 for the week. And I was doing the same thing, 10-second chart, micro, buying in micro pullbacks, buying as things were making new highs, getting out very quick when I was losing, and letting things ride for a little bit as I was making money, but not staying until those flags started to basically descend a little bit, which, yes, there will be times where I will lose money not staying in trades, but I'm just trying to stay profitable right now, and I'm trying to build my metrics, because I know if I can, have a day where I have a $7 win with 50 shares, well, if I did 100 shares, that day would have been $14. If it would have been 200 shares, it would have been $14, and so on and so on. So I know that if I can just prove, I don't always need to take the most amount of profit total. Future Adam, know that you don't have to take the most amount of money profitable. It's just about, taking what you can from the market, trying to outsmart it as much as you can. So buying micro pullbacks, buying into new highs, very quick trades last week that ended up working successfully. So then again, back to this month. Monday was a holiday. It was Labor Day. A decent amount of volume. Like, look at this. Tuesday, first trading day of the week. Also first trading day of the month. $5,000 in volume. 45 trades. That's a lot. 55% win rate. That is... that's a lot of trades. I thought 38 was going to be my high. But again, a higher volume makes sense. But then look at today. Only $1,000 of volume. 10 trades, 60% win rate. $45 gain. Less volume, less trades, better accuracy, more profit. So that's something to, think about as I'm reviewing this stuff and figure out exactly how that all worked out. But yesterday's loss was because of that halt and then emotional trading after that, trying to get it back when I should have just called it quits and got out. I have found, like I said, 9:30 to 10 a.m. is when I make my money, or I lose it. Don't go back in after 10 a.m. unless it's like 9:55 and things are going really good. Ride it for a little bit longer, but don't stay in these things for that long. It just it doesn't work out. So that's my first trade review, and I think it's good for me to think about this stuff and talk about it. Yesterday was an emotional day. It was I was holding my losers. I was staying in at the halt, which, yes, that can work out. And it very well could have worked out in the other direction, but in this case, it didn't. So for right now, what I'm doing forward is I am going to try to get out before the halts, continue doing this micro scalping strategy, trying to continue with the 50 shares, even though on days like earlier this week or today when you have $45 in profit, I should have doubled my share size because that could have been, $90 in profit. And while, yes, if I did the exact same things, that is correct. What isn't still the same is, if I let a stock go into $5 of drawdown, well, right now, if I double my share size, well, now that's $10 a drawdown. And yeah, the upside is double as well, but I have to continue working on my emotions around that drawdown and keep doing exactly what I'm doing. 50 shares, micro scalping, 10-second chart. Generally speaking, over the last 2 weeks, last week was all green, 3 green days this week. We had 1 day that we weren't trading. So, out of 9 days, I only had 1 red day, but that 1 red day was a painful one and almost made me give back all of my profit. But it didn't for this week. We ended up 30. What am I doing here? Ended up $30 in the green for the week. So I'm done for the week, even though it's only 11 a.m. I'm not allowing myself to go back in. So that's it. See you tomorrow. Oh no, today's Friday. Well, I guess I'll be doing this on Monday then. All right, see you Monday. See ya. Peace.